Uh, uh, so we are into the session of ignorance to wisdom. How much you have learned? Oh, I learned a lot. How much you remember? Oh, I remember everything. Really? Yes, you remember everything. Did you change your life? Oh, yes, a little bit, but frequently I go into the stress and anxiety. Why? The first seven factors or eight factors, the word is suffering. Word is The entire word is suffering, eight or seven or eight factors. We discussed about it. And now how, how a person how a person enters into these seven or eight factors, that is what we are going to talk about. By an example, last week this guy wrote to me, pay attention, I have been really tired for the last few days. Why? He writes, I have been so focused on it. Focused on what? That I'm tired. Trying to not to think about it, I'm sure it is making things worse. It is making things worse. Can't get it out of my head. Finished? Now, he has been a seeker for a couple of years. That is why I have said that consistent learning is required. I know you talked about this type of thing many a times. I am not the body, see beyond it, not sure why I feel stuck. Did you get it? This is the message email I get. Now just open it up. Do you realize how past impressions takes over and hijack the wisdom? Now pick up intellectual paralysis. I'm more focused and obsessed on the stress, on the tired part of it. Why? Because I feel that I am the body. But why I feel I am the body? First, false assumption, distractions. And because of that distractions, I have a strong like and dislike. So I am more obsessively focused why I am tired. I am not clear that I am not the body. I have to start with the dropping the false assumption, attachment to the body. So are you not a seeker? No, he's a seeker. That's why he wrote to me. Otherwise, if he is not a seeker, he should not have written. Oh, leave this crazy beard guy. No, he has been talking about it, and I don't get any result. So what happens? You are in a delusion. You all are seekers. That is how we have to examine what to do at these times. Sit down, moving your mind within, enter into the state of the calmness. Why? I should remind myself peace and happiness are my essential nature. I do not support the past impression. I don't know when the past impression will take over my mind and will hijack the peace. Are you getting it? Think. Do not pay attention to it, rather, pay attention to you feel stuck not because of the past impression, but because your mind says it is real. The tiredness is real. No, it is false. So you see, you can combine all the seven or eight factors to discover that delusion. If you don't discover that delusion there and then, then you are not, you are still a seeker, but you are not a higher level of a seeker. What is the role of a seeker? You contemplate and reflect, you become aware, you remind, go to the fourth group. Remind, remember, revise, and repeat. Why? To get rid of the false assumption. Why the false assumption is? Because of the past impression. Think. I'm just giving a simple example. Check the state of the mind going beyond past impression. You deal with your tiredness and fatigue in the state of calmness of the mind. You have separated. You are not attached to the body. This is a talk for the higher seeker. You all are higher seekers. Even if you do not understand, no worry. You are a higher seeker. You recognize the delusion practically, here and now. Or you write or talk to a teacher. If you don't get rid of it, you talk to a teacher. Still, you are a seeker. Because even in frustration, you find there is some light. Oh, let me ask why it is happening. And there is a very thin line. You become a non-seeker. Oh, I have been doing it for a couple of years, and he does not understand my stress. You are a non-seeker. You are a non-seeker. Very thin line. Nothing will happen. Your mind now in full delusion. I tried many a times till I become upset, anxious, and frustrated. Do you think what you have done in the past have accumulated impressions? Did you release them? The seeker does not try to understand and fall back to the world that is suffering. Are you getting it? Say yes. At any point of time, we want the highest knowledge. We think we will get this knowledge in few hours of online sessions without contemplation, reflection, and practice. That is not going to happen. If you don't do the practice, if you do not contemplate, if you do not challenge your false assumption, if you don't challenge your tiredness, if you don't challenge your fever or anything, that defines the world as suffering. You have been sharing good experiences. That is why I'm talking about it. That person is a seeker, but not a higher seeker who gets trapped by the past impression. You wake up in the morning, mood swing. You are upset. No, but there is no reason to get upset. So there is a reason because of the past impression. Let me keep it aside. Let me explore that peace and calmness within. No, I will get carried away by the mood swing and upset. Why? Because I have an attachment to the body. Why? Because I feel I am the body. Why? Because mind is distracted. Why? Because I have an emotional dependence on the body. Why? I went into intellectual paralysis, all the 7 or 8 factors. That is how you have to analyze. You analyze it in your head and see what happens. It's not philosophical, it's 100% practical. 100% practical. So I get all these messages, but then I recognize whether one is moving towards becoming a greater and a higher seeker or one has lost hope. In spite of losing hope, you are searching for peace and happiness because peace and happiness are your essential nature. Are you getting it? In spite, you lost hope from the person. You need not to lose hope from a teacher. You have to inquire within. I lose hope from a teacher, so let me find someone else. Let me find a beer. Let me find a bag of vodka. I'm still searching peace and happiness. We are going into the higher and higher steps. So look at it. First is the foolishness, scattered mind. Now, see, did not write to him that you are foolish because that is not the way to teacher guides. You know why I am obsessed and focused on the tiredness? That is what he writes. Find out how many statements you made last week like this. Think of this. Think of this. So you are trapped in foolishness. I don't examine my life. Foolishness means unexamined life, and that scatters the mind. You are distracted and disjointed, lacking mental clarity. And because you lack the mental clarity, you have an attachment. You see, such a simple statement. Masters analyze so deeply and they find out, oh, this is because the world is suffering. Then because of the scattered mind, you have an attachment. Then attachment brings the emotional dependence. Emotional dependence gives a very strong sense of I am the body, selfishness, ego, that results into an intellectual paralysis. And then your mind is constantly working on the changing desire. How to get rid of my tiredness, how to get rid of my tiredness. That becomes your mantra. Master says, this is the world is suffering you have created for yourself. This is one case. I have money, still world is suffering. I don't have money, world is suffering. I have stomach ache, world is suffering. I overeat, world is suffering. Think, think. Contemplate and reflect. So suffering is no. Today, the master says you have to look from different perspective. If you don't remember all these 7 or 8 steps, then he says there are 6 enemies living in the mind that causes the suffering. Again, again, I have to change the mind. What is the way? The second group is the satsang. We talked about it, satsang. Huh? And in the satsang, we talked about satsangatve. So by listening and learning, your mind awakens to that level of awareness where you see this tiredness belongs to the body, not to me. You need not to focus on it. For example, in this case, but do you see, this guy recognize you have told me hundred of times, and still my mind is obsessed with it. So there is a hope, there is a seeking. It means what? There is a commitment inside. You see the change in the mind. That is what happens. And the third is the realization. So once you undergo the second group of satsang by contemplation and reflection, the third group, you recognize the mind can live in wisdom. It can live in emotional freedom. And then remember the 7 factors of the body that I discussed, which causes too much of suffering. Outer changes is not required. I need not to be a hypocrite. I should recognize the hypocrisy. Knowledge of the self, not the rituals, will work. And the fourth group. So come back. So this master says there are six enemies present in the mind in the form of a thought, feeling, emotions, sensations. So, desire, binding desire. Binding desire, agitation, repeat desire means the greed, and then it results into delusion, pride, and the jealousy. How can I relate my jealousy to the fatigue and the tiredness? I'm obsessed with you. I'm jealous of you. My mind is out of my body. I'm meditating on you because of the jealousy. I have to feel exhausted. Think. I'm not saying believe. Think, contemplate, and reflect. How many times you reacted, and just after that you felt exhausted. The word it says, kamam, krodham, lobham, moham, tyaktva, atmanam, bhavaya, koham. The moment you have any kind of a suffering, you start the journey in your mind. Who am I? Ask yourself, who am I? Am I the body who is suffering? Am I the mind who has a mood swing? Am I the emotions? I have an emotional detachment. Am my intellect is paralyzed? Am I the intellect? Who am I? That is only way. I would say that is the only way. At the primary level, if you are a non-seeker, we say you do the breathing and you do all kinds of practices. But yeah, it has a temporary result until those past impressions are released by understanding, by knowledge. Atma Jnana Vihina Mudha. The person who is not aware who he is or who she is mood. Mood means foolish. Same thing, seven or eight factors. They are the fools who are without self knowledge as captives in the hell. I create the hell in my life. I create the heaven in my life. What a beautiful verse. So I create a hell, then I feel tortured, then I say, you are torturing me, you have humiliated. Why? You did not appreciate me that I am rich. For example, that I'm smart, that I'm intelligent. Emotional dependence. Do you see that? Think, think, think. So I started with a perfect example. And you see, that is the way the teacher gets an example who is in a teaching profession in the Eastern wisdom. You get somewhere from the real life examples. And that becomes the topic. So, six enemies, binding desire. Before the binding desire, it is the foolishness. After the foolishness, there is a distraction. After the distraction, there is an attachment and detachment. Because of the attachment and detachment, I have a desire. So these six enemies are explained in the Gita. You see that if you study Gita, you don't understand clearly. The world is suffering. So that is why the masters have laid down a step by process. If you go to the higher learning in the Upanishads, after Gita, there are the higher learning is the Upanishads. They only make one statement. which explains what I have explained just now. There is no joy in the finite, only in the infinite lies the joy. Only in the infinity lies the permanent happiness. So find out, is your mind caught in the finite, in the limitedness? Honey, you don't love me. Because you are crazy. Why should I love you? So that is one of the Upanishads. Self knowledge alone eradicates the suffering. Another master says. From the hesitation, any kinds of hesitation, the physical, mental, and the emotional, comes the delusion. I'm tired. Okay. It is an hesitation in the body. It comes from the delusion. So let me explore how it has come. I have already, I woke up in the morning and I feel tired. Come on, how many hours I slept? 10 hours. So the cause is somewhere deep inside. It may be because of the past impressions. So I have to conquer destructive emotion that afflicts the mind. That is the learning of a seeker. Non-seeker will raise lot of questions which has no validity in the Eastern wisdom, but we say the root causes of this suffering lies inward, in the mind, dominated by these six enemies. Whether you say six enemies or you remember all the eight factors. Diagnose the problem in a right manner. Diagnose the problem. Six inner enemies that repeatedly chain our mind to various hells of anguishness. That is what he is referring. He is saying self inquiry is the way to break the false identification and surrender in devotion, recognition that there is a real self beyond this body. I'm not the body. I told you, you might have experienced a couple of times, and I gave an example that there are two friends. One is very close friend, and one is also a friend. The one who is also a friend, he calls you, "Oh, can you come with me today?" Because internally, because of the past impression, you have certain dislikes. You say, "No, I'm busy today, so I'm not going there." Or you can say, "I feel tired, so I cannot go." You have done so hundred of times. And a very close friend of yours calls you, "You have a fever." You say, "No, come down. Come to my house, and there, then we will decide. You can take me there." Past impressions, mind. I forget to take notice of the state of the mind. It happens. It happens to everyone. We have excused ourselves hundred of times, and we have, in spite of the challenges in the body and the mind, we have said, "No, no, no, I'm ready." This is what the teacher is teaching. Think, think this. So you see the context of this verse. Context of this verse is again the same: hammer the delusion. Hammer the delusion. And we can only hammer the delusion by understanding who am I and who am I not. But if I forget, when I have an extreme pain, when the body is blocking me to perform an action, I feel a sense of limitedness and I have started the foolishness. So these six enemies have imprisoned us. The master is using the word, I'm using the same translation. He says that these enemies have imprisoned us in a hellish suffering by clouding the mind, means by entering into the delusion. I can be happy in any situation, in any state of the body. How I can overcome? By self inquiry to realize once my true nature. Remedy is the second group. First group, I recognize what are these factors causing me the problem, the ignorance at this moment. Laziness will not do. I have to take care of these challenges caused by the word there and then. Whenever this comes internally, you start contemplating, you reflecting on it, and you will see it goes away. When I give into these six enemies, one way, or I give into fatigue, the tiredness experienced, or anxiety, or mood swing, or reaction, seven factors will take over. Cause maybe the past impression, maybe the event that took place last year. It will cloud the mind and will say, no, no, I have to do this. I have to contemplate. And the moment you start contemplating, you find the freedom from the suffering there and then. Mind abides in inner joy, a deeper satisfaction because the wisdom is awakened. One master says that, do you see the mirage water? Yes, I see it. Exactly all our suffering are like a mirage water. When you go closer through by contemplation and reflection, you don't find the water. It's a mirage. That is another way to put the delusion. I have to do the inner work. I have to maintain that level of awareness. So you see the non-seeker or seeker. You can say seeker at different level. So one seeker at one level asks the question, if all the pleasures are fleeting, how can lasting joy can be attained? You know the answer. My mind is focused on the objects, people, relationship outside to secure the happiness, whereas no object, no person, no relations contains permanent happiness. I have to think just in that way. Seekers at different level. Can problems be avoided by avoiding people and situations? No. The enemies are within us. Those enemies gives a different interpretation of the situation, of the person, of the pain, of the attachment, and that causes the suffering. Is neglecting worldly duties necessary for inner freedom? No, big no. No, I have a headache, so I feel skipping my duty today. I will take rest. So now you have already sent an email, and then you have a more headache. After a few hours, these kids are really crazy. I should have gone to the office. You see the circle of the delusion. You all are seekers. That's why I'm talking about it. If desires are fulfilled, will it bring lasting contentment? So the mind instantly goes there. Let me fulfill this desire. You have some itching there and you start scratching. It brings the temporary relief, but the itching returns again. Another desire will return again. And that desire will put you into the world that is suffering seven factors. Can worldly actions obstruct inner flowering, inner blossoming, inner awakening? No. You have to be very clear. No outer situation, no state or condition of the body has anything to do with inner. It does not block the inner awakening. Remember this, keep in your mind. Think. So when you think, with just one example, you can create at least hundreds of examples that takes place in life. So what the master is saying, because of these six desires, there is a deluded thinking. We imprison our mind into hellish suffering endlessly. So the word is used as a naraka. Naraka in Sanskrit means the hell. We carry endless misery due to the subjection of the mind to these inner enemies. That is why I titled this series after hammering the delusion. It is Ignorance to Wisdom. Eyes are closed. Let us start our journey. Eyes are closed. Find out the place, position, and posture. Place, position, and posture. Are you clear? I have explained it a couple of times. And then being comfortable and carefree. Why should I explain? You all are seekers. And challenge your mind. Yes, I am a seeker. Declare it that I am a seeker. Why should I need a repetition? I should simply become aware. It's a non-verbal awareness. I'm comfortable. Yes. I am carefree. Yes. Very good. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. I'm not saying you blindly believe it. You have some problem, you go to the doctor, and doctor says, "Oh, it's such a small problem. Here are the pills." You have not taken the pills, but something happened to your mind. By the thought is a cognitive process associated with the emotion. So you heard these thoughts from the doctors, and that emotional attachment, dependence has gone. You have yet to take the pills. You have yet to report the doctor after the 2 weeks. 80% of your challenge is you feel now I'm relaxed. Mantra is these pills. If you do it emotionally, it will have its impact. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. Happiness for all. Are you getting emotional? No, I don't want happiness for all, only for me. So that selfishness causes these six enemies. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. May there be peace for all. May there be peace for all. You see, you are bypassing that selfish mind. Again, remember, selfish mind. What is selfish mind? All these seven and eight factors. We are not talking of a selfishness in a social term. If you are attached, emotional dependence, intellectual paralysis, this is selfishness. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Completeness in all. Sense of wholeness, holiness. Do you need a candle for the sun? No. Metaphorically, the sun is complete. So we have a sense of completeness in the real self. And so everyone is complete. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. I'm going to take Mangalam part of it, the auspiciousness on Saturday's session. The Mangalam is auspiciousness. Auspiciousness is always there. If you remove the seven or eight factors, the word is suffering. You're always in auspiciousness. So we have taken the mind beyond the physical perception. We made the mind subtle. At the same time, with a cognitive thought process, which is mantra. I'm not talking of anything religious. Now, looking deep inside the forehead in the space, yes, and in the space you drop Om Shanti gently, body is steady, and you start breathing quick and short breath into the rib cage. The very higher level of a seeker finds this breathing is happening in the body with the lungs, and I'm separate from it. Can you recognize that separation? So, what is going to happen? Nothing happens to you. You keep on driving the car hundreds of miles. Just as if you are enjoying resistance, you endure the resistance and let this endurance become a joy of doing. I'm adding another word. Very subtle, but very interesting. Endurance becomes the joy of doing. Continue, my friends, continue. Do not stop in the middle. So you are understanding the resistance by the mind coming from the past impressions, and you bypass it by endurance, and then you see the endurance turns into the joy of doing. Now the endurance is no longer exist because you are enjoying. Why? Because you want to achieve the higher states. And at the same time, it results into beautiful experiences, change in the experiences which happen to everyone at one point of time. Can it happen all the time? Casually, as if you're very casual and natural in breathing into the rib cage, dropping the Om Shanti in the state of the stillness in the body, and you are aware of the resistance. So, endurance, from endurance to joy of doing. You recognize, you accept, this is what I'm going to do. Your doing is casual but correct. So it becomes a joy of doing it. The joy of doing has taken over the endurance, and endurance has taken over the resistance, and the resistance coming from the past impressions. You see the chain? And those past impressions, why I feel sad, mood swing, because of those seven factors are accumulated, they trigger due to a situation outside. Situation is not responsible. Outer world works as a catalyst. Continue breathing. So we are working at a very subtler level. We are doing resistance in the beginning, doing plus resistance, then endure plus doing, and then the joy of doing. Resistance and the endurance both have gone. At this moment, no, it will happen after a year. No. If you think it will happen after a year, that is a scientific approach. No, I have to increase the capacity of the lungs. So it's a matter based approach. Our approach is consciousness based. Continue breathing, no stopping in the middle. And Om Shanti, you are dropping. You know, Om Shanti checks your endurance and the joy because you are doing so gently. A lot of, I'll explain each and every step, no worries. Continue. Continue breathing. Continue Om Shanti. Continue the stillness in the body. Continue, if I say so, the endurance or the joy of doing. And stop it. You know, the very practice is taken over by the higher consciousness. There, the endurance drops, and there is a joy of conscious living, joy of doing it. How to recognize it? Pay attention to the breath, the flow of the breath. If you find the flow of the breath is equal in the state of the stillness in the body, you will see it. You are aware of the breath, the flow of the breath, and I told you, whichever flow is less, you pay attention there. It does not mean that you are not aware of the flow of the other breath. And that is how the time comes we find the flow of the breath from both the nostrils become equal. Can I sustain that in the state of stillness in the body without any movement, without any change in the rate and the rhythm of the breath? You will see, you will see a change. Now, see, it is a big challenge that you maintain awareness of the flow of the breath in the state of the stillness in the body. Why? The mind has nothing to hang on. So, what happens? It starts hanging on the past impression. And there the body moves. In the beginning, we need to observe this. And once we reach to a state, it is okay. So when you consistent, when you see the flow of the breath, awareness and attention on the flow of the breath is consistent in the state of the stillness in the body, the mind is not distracted. That is the right time. You can bypass the other steps. You directly go into the cave of your heart, see the triangle of any color. Intentionally, I say, because whatever the color you like, your you will triangle will be visible. It's okay. And then you move the mind on each side of a triangle, gently dropping Shanti on each side to check the sync. And if you are syncing, if you are syncing, at that moment, move the mind with Om mentally deep inside the cave of your heart. Shanti, mind seemingly stops. You drop Shanti and absorption. So that mind seemingly stops. Mind cannot stop, but the mind can reflect that, oh, I feel there is motionlessness, changelessness. That is where we need to move on. That is the meaning of transcending the change, the body mind. Well, if your mind returns, No issue. Remain casual, perfectly natural. Recognize it and move the mind again on the triangle. A recognition. I'm not saying getting desperate. I'm still, in spite of you listening to me, you're aware of the body, the situation, the world outside, the space outside. Everything is there in the world, but in that you find the presence. Some presence is different. It does not belong to the world outside. Mm. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. And If you have any question, can I take you, Terry, first? Ah, she lost her connections. Okay, let her return, and then we'll take up. In the meantime, let us take Stephen.
Thank you, sir. Um, Good lesson, good meditation. Nice reminder that the mind is not our friend. And through awareness, contemplation, and reflection, um, gives us the ability to lean into the essence of the real self and just shut the mind down, and things are good. As far as meditation goes, it was the breathing started out challenging, then became very easy. And then I would say through most of the meditation, most of the breathing, you made a comment that says, don't forget about the Om Shanti. And I realized I wasn't saying Om Shanti. And as soon as I started the Om Shanti, I felt this wave of energy coming from uh,
Yes,
my lower spine up over my head, almost into my forehead and down and around. And I just was observing it and had no idea about the breathing or anything that was going on. And I was just watching this flow of energy going through my body. And then when we stopped, I was ice cold.
beautiful,
And that was all I remember. So thank you.
beautiful. That is what I added one word, resistance follows the endurance, and from the endurance you have a joy of doing. But you mentioned one point, mind is the enemy. I have to make the mind as the greatest. If the mind lives with the world that is suffering, is enemy. If the mind lives with the wisdom, with these principles, it is the greatest friend. So I have to make my mind a greatest friend that will take me to the realization. That will take me to the awakening, what Dennis was talking about. I have two more things to say before. I was talking about this guy yesterday, then I sent him the message. So I got the message, I could see my phone link is on the window. So he says, "Good morning." Well, I woke up thinking, oh my God, I am still tired, and it is the Monday morning. Now, what you're going to say, but he changed. Then I said, stop it. Mind was an enemy. I told the mind, stop it. I did the practice and listened carefully to the talk, totally changing my thinking. This is what happens. So we teachers are always desperate. Why you are not changing? I have told you hundred of times. But we don't show our desperation. We guide in a different way. And one more thing that I will talk later. So let us take Terry first. Yes.
It became I'm I had to fight against my fatigue, and it became easier uh, during the
Really,
lesson.
during the lesson. Yeah, no need. You just come because you were talking very normally before the beginning of a session. That's why I say it's okay. It's a part of the journey. No worries. Keep smiling.
Mhm.
Yeah. How are you, David and Jerry? Yeah, we will talk just after the session. We will talk. I made some mistake while talking to you, so we will correct it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Very good lesson. The focus for me on the lesson is just that permanent is inside and changes outside, and just really focusing on that. And going into the meditation, the breathing was, I don't know how long we were doing it for, but I got
11
lost. 11 minutes. Okay. It could have been 2 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes. I just got lost in it.
Beautiful.
So it was very, very deep, and thank you. It was good.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you. I really did a nice deep meditation, calm, relaxed, very absorbed. And the joy of doing sat with me, because before you said that, I was thinking that it's about the attitude. When you're settled in the knowledge, then there's this attitude, and that is the joy. I feel like the mind is our best friend, really. And like you've many times referred to the mind and the body as our instrument. And I love that, because I can really fine tune the instrument, so that it works it's perfectly imperfect, but it's perfect, really. It's fine tuned to what never changes. And in that regard, it's our best friend.
Definitely. Once we make the mind our best friend, it means that real self or the pure consciousness is consciously and constantly reflecting through the mind. And that is where the higher realization takes place. It's a beautiful narration. We'll talk just after the end of the session for a few minutes. How are you, Dennis?
Thank you. The reminder for me today from the lecture part is that whenever suffering comes, I have to remember to start asking who exactly is suffering and who is this I that claims that it suffers. So
Beautiful.
instead of allowing the mind to surrender to this suffering, I have to shift the focus from suffering to contemplation. Easier said than done, but the goal is such. At
Yes.
least I have to realize that the goal is such. As far as the practice today, I had an experience in this deep dark space at the end. I realized that there are like moving parts, the changing parts, the something that is not permanent, something that is changing, like thoughts, like outer impressions and everything from outside, and still there is motionless entity that is underneath everything that changes. I realized that it was always there, but the recognition is what happened today.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is how we say that real self is unchanging, eternal, all pervading, and the rest, whatever is constantly changing, modifying itself, takes birth and the death. And beneath that, there is always, that is what we are going to discover and realize. It's a beautiful way of presenting it. That is, you see, that is what, it is easier said than but this guy did in 24 hours. Yesterday he wrote me, and today he said, you look at his words. He said, then I said, stop it. And I did the practice and listened carefully to the talk. I am not important. You heard my talk. It is the knowledge realized by the mind. It was an enemy, it became a friend. That needs to be understood clearly. So, how are you, Brandy?
Thank you. My focus during the meditation was on the steps from resistance to endurance to taking it joyfully and casually, because I feel like if you can do that in your meditation, you can certainly do it in the world.
Yes.
And I need it in the world right now with some work stuff, but I just really stayed with that, and it was a nice meditation. Thank you.
Nice meditation. You rightly pointed out what David also pointed out. I just continued doing it. I didn't know that how long I'm doing it. I was enjoying it. So you see that is how the revelation in the mind takes place. When you listen to these principles again and again, everyone has a different revelation. Everyone, whoever shares the experience. Oh, if I can do in the same, the joy of doing should be there in the workplace while talking to my mom or dad or relations or friends. What is going to happen? There is some permanent entity will continue to reveal itself. And that permanent entity is the real self we are discovering. How are you, Ashok? You are with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir.
Sir, I'm good, peaceful and calm. Everything fine. Thank you.
Everything fine. I could see your beautiful wife behind you.
Okay. Okay.
How are you, Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. So it's like gradually I'm taking authority over my mind that I will respond to a situation rather than reacting to it. So it will keep the awareness intact and it remains the peace altogether.
It is the same thing. Again, I will repeat his experience when he sent the message. I listened to the talk carefully. There was no change in the talk. Talk was the same. I sent to him. Practice was the same. I sent to him. But my level of awareness, or indirectly or directly say, my mind was an enemy even while listening. Now my mind has become a friend while listening. So who is responsible? Teacher? No. Only the seeker is responsible for one's growth. That is all for today. Thank you very much. We will, I and David and Jerry